Hello there, and welcome to a very quick walkthrough on how to make sure your Who's Off account is ready for the upcoming new year. During this particular video, we're going to be covering off a number of different topics that are useful to know when it comes to setting up your Who's Off account for the start of your new leave year. Of which we're going to be covering setting up allowances, importing public holidays, managing optional features such as Christmas closure periods, and as well we're going to be touching on the carryover procedure. Importantly, the carryover procedure cannot be run until the start of your new holiday year, but the first part of this video we're going to show you things that you can do before that to ensure staff members have a very smooth transition into the new year. So to begin, you will notice that from our dashboard, we of course have got some leave entitlement for this year, but we do not have any allowances for next year just yet. We can also run a very quick check on who else already has leave entitlement for next year. So that can be very easily done via the reports dashboard and using the allowances report that you can see on the right hand side of the page. Now, by clicking on that report option, you will then be able to scroll down for each individual staff member, reviewing who has already got leave entitlement for the year, as well as who hasn't got leave entitlement for the leave year. So you will notice that one of our staff members already had balances for that period of time. Now, what we can do to very quickly and easily get this set up with leave entitlement so that staff members can book time off, we can go into the administration menu and open up the admin dashboard. Now from here, under the bulk section, you will see the balance administration option. This is an incredibly useful tool because it will allow you to either go by department or by the whole company and examine not only what people have got left for this year, but also apply balances for next year. Now, this can be done by either individually typing in what they should be entitled to. So for Adam Jones, that we've highlighted at the very top here, we could put that Adam is entitled to 25 days for next year. You will notice that after adjusting the opening balance, a message has appeared in the bottom right to mention that opening balance have been updated, and not to forget to update the remaining balance as well, because of course Who's Off will not do that automatically for you. So therefore we will also enter 25 in that field as well. Now that's one way of doing it on this particular page. You can of course do this individually and thereby enter in what they're entitled to per staff member, or you can use this option on the right hand side of the page, which will allow you to firstly prep with the previous year's balances. So what this option will do here is upon clicking on set option, it will copy over the opening balance for each individual and apply it to their opening and remaining balances for next year. That's a great way of repeating their leave entitlement supplements so that you don't have to go through and do it one by one. Even after you've done that, you will still be able to make individual adjustments where necessary. Or, of course, you've got the prep with a value option. Now, what this will do is it will allow you to set a whole value to every member of staff you've currently got on screen. So this perhaps might be more useful if everyone in a single department was to receive the same amount of leave. But, of course, you can, again, make adjustments thereafter where needed. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use the prep with previous year option. And when I then click on set option, you will now see that these particular individuals have been given what they started with last year for both their opening and remaining balances for next year. I can then click on save changes, and those changes have now been applied. So now my staff members have got their time off and leave entitlement, their core leave entitlement, just to clarify, for next year, and will be able to start booking their leave accordingly. Now, another thing that we need to focus on for the upcoming leave year, public holidays. Now, of course, public holidays get managed in lots of different ways in Who's Off. Some companies, they require their staff members to book those off. Some other companies, they use our free days tool. In this particular scenario, we're going to show you how you can use the free days to represent your public holidays and how quickly and easy it is to get those set up within the system. Of course, if your staff members are required to book the public holidays off instead, you can ignore this step and continue to manage it in the way you are currently doing so. Of course, if you need any help on any of this, you're welcome to get in touch with our support team. So, to quickly and easily import your public holidays, you'll navigate over to the administration menu and you will click on the free restricted days option. From here, you will then use the import public holidays tab, where upon clicking that, you can then select your appropriate country. So we're going to select the United Kingdom in this example. And then you will see a list of the public holidays for this year, which of course have already been taken care of. And you will also see a list of next year's as well. This will also give you the further opportunity of excluding any public holidays that are not applicable to your business, as well as choosing which departments to apply them to. Now, of course, in this example, we're applying this to the whole company. And when I click on select departments here, you will notice that some examples illustrate part-time staff members to accommodate for those. So, of course, if this is how you manage it within your business, then you would use the select departments option and exclude any part-time staff members. But as I say, in this example, we're going to apply it to all departments and then click on import selected. And you will now notice that they have been imported onto our account accordingly. So if I change the date range to next year, you will now see them in the list. We will see what they look like on the Who's Off calendar in just a few moments, but I will also illustrate here as well. If there are public holidays that weren't on that import list, you can always use the add free restricted day option, and this will allow you to add an individual option using the list of fields that you can see on your screen. So this is a great way of being very specific with the public holidays or free days that you're applying to your staff members. So let's go and have a look at the Who's Off calendar now that we've got those set up on the system. So we'll go forward to December of 2024 and we'll click on run. And as you can see now, we've set up our 3 days ready for the new year. And this is a great benefit to your staff members as well, because now that they've got their leave entitlement for next year, as well as the public holidays, if they book a week off and it happens to be a free day on the bank holiday Monday, then the system will only deduct 4 days instead of the usual 5. That's of course based on somebody working Monday to Friday. Next up, we're going to look at Christmas shutdown periods. Now, of course, this is an optional setting. Not every company will process Christmas shutdown for their staff members, but this is a handy way to manage it in Who's Off. So, firstly, what you're going to want to do within the administration section is set up what we call a leave type. Now, of course, you may have already done this if you have used Who's Off over the past few years or used it before. And therefore, you won't need to do this again. But just to quickly have a look at the leave type settings, what you want to ensure is the deduct allowance time option is exactly as per your company policy. So, of course, if you give this particular time off for free and therefore not deducting from your staff allowances, you'll need to make sure the setting is appropriately set up. And likewise, you may not necessarily want to expose this leave type to all of your users for them to be able to book themselves. So therefore, using the available to permission, you can adjust it so that only super users have the option to book it. On the left-hand side of the page, via the restrictions and levels, you of course may not necessarily want your staff members to cancel this time off because it may be a mandatory closure, and therefore entering 365 days in the cancellation period option will prevent your staff members from cancelling the leave request because it will fall within a year of today's date. And then last but not least, via the email settings, you of course wouldn't want any emails to be sent out regarding this leave request, so therefore you can disable these as much as you need to. But of course, all of these settings are just an example. You will set up the leave type exactly how it needs to for your business, and therefore it will work in such a way. But to go and actually process this time off request, you're going to go back into the admin dashboard option. And from here, under the bulk section again, you'll notice a lot of these processes can be done in bulk, so that's a huge time-saving benefit. You can click on the Book Staff Leave option, and then again, you can either do it by individual department or multiple departments at a time, or for the whole company. You then select your desired type of leave, Christmas shutdown, and then choose the date you would like to book off. So we're going to book off December 2024, the first day being the 27th. Of course, this is going to be the most applicable date for yourselves. Now, using this tool, you can only book a full day or half a day at a time, but this is still a lot quicker and a lot easier than booking it individually for each of your staff members. We can then click on the Check Details option, and the system will then give you a preview of all of the staff members involved in that booking. It will then tell you whether any allowance will be deducted or not in this circumstance, because Adam isn't actually working on that day anyway. And then at the very bottom of that list, it will allow you to confirm the booking. We will process that just now. And as you can see, the leave request has successfully been submitted. We can then scroll to the top and change our date accordingly and reprocess for any other relevant dates. We can then go to the Who's Off calendar again, and if we revisit December 2024, you can now see our new year period is taking shape beautifully. You can see the Christmas shutdown period is covered accordingly, along with the free days or public holidays that have been imported into the account. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be looking at processing carryover. So within the Who's Off system, you of course will be able to review data from years gone past using the reports facilities that you have available to you just here. It's good practice before you run the carryover process to run an allowance report for the year just ended. So if I was to look at the allowances report from the reports dashboard on the right hand side, I can change the period I want to view and select last year and this year. I can then view this for the entire company, and what this does is it gives you the opportunity to interrogate somebody's leave allowance before you process any of the carryover, just to ensure that the correct figures are being processed. So as you can see here, we have somebody in a negative balance. Now, negative balances aren't included in the carryover process. These will have to be accommodated manually, which you can visit the staff member's profile and process accordingly. Once you are satisfied that the figures that are left over are correct or accurate, the next thing you're going to want to do is just sanity check if there's any pending leave. Because of course, pending leave does not deduct from your staff allowances until it's been approved. So if there's any pending leave in the system for last year, you're going to want to ensure that the leave request is approved to ensure the balance remaining is correct. So via the leave menu, as the super user, you are able to visit pending leave and interrogate any member of staff's pending leave record, simply by adjusting the filters at the top and clicking on search, as you can see here. Now, it appears that Billy Bilson has got a leave request in the system for the 9th to the 11th of October 2023. This will need to be processed before we can go ahead and carry Billy's time off over into the new year. So, therefore, we will click on process and we will select our decision as approve. And then once we have clicked on the process option, you can now see that the leave request has disappeared from our list. We will close that option now. And what we could then do is just go ahead and check on Billy's profile to make sure the balances are now satisfied. So when we go to the Manage Staff page, we can go to Billy's name, click on Leave Allowances on the left, and as we can see, yep, we are now satisfied that the correct balances are remaining for that leave period. Of course, this is leave year ending November 2023, leave starting December 2023. So, now that we've established the balances are correct and all of our pending leave has been taken care of, what we now need to run a quick check on is to make sure that we've got our correct carryover maximum values. This can be very easily done through the administration section under the company details page, where in the bottom left-hand corner of the page, you will see a yearly carryover section. From here, you will be able to establish a maximum carryover in days, as well as in hours, and this is a general rule that will apply to all members of staff. However, as part of running this process, you may often find that there are some exceptions to the rule, and therefore some individuals are allowed to carry over slightly more than others. What we will do is we will illustrate how that can be very easily done within the system. So, now that we've established our maximum carryover rules, we're now ready to go ahead and process the carryover. On the left-hand side of the page, we're going to go into administration. We're then going to click on admin dashboard. Under the leave overtime section, we're going to click on yearly carryover. This will then allow us to either by department or for the whole company, bring up a list of all of our staff members and allow us to examine what is due to happen when we try to process the carryover. We can see here that this is their current leave remaining for this leave year. We can also see that this is their possible carryover amount out of their maximum number of days. You will notice that Chris Carson has actually got 12 days left for last year, but because of our maximum rule of 5, they are only allowed to carry over 5 days. You will also be presented with any errors to indicate why the carryover process cannot be run. So it clearly says here there is no remaining balance to be carried over. The carryover will not be processed for this employee. And that's because, of course, we do not carry over negative values during this process. As a reminder, they all have to be managed manually. What you can then do is, using the include tick box, you can mark down who you would like to include in this carryover process, as well as exclude from this carryover process. You will notice that we have deliberately chosen to exclude those individuals with more than 5 days remaining in total. You do also have the tick all and the untick all options on the right hand side of the screen. That's very handy, of course, if you have a large body of staff members that you need to process this for. But once you're satisfied, you can click on the process option. Now, as a gentle reminder, the carryover is irreversible. Once the carryover has been processed, there is no way to undo this, and any further adjustments needed thereafter will be needed to be processed manually. When you're happy, click on process. It will give you a confirmation of what I've just talked about there, that the process is irreversible. And if you would like to continue, click on yes. And now you can see the carryover has been processed accordingly. And you've even got a success option, as you can see here. Now, what do we do about Chris and Debbie? Because, of course, they're entitled to more time off to be carried over than our other employees. What we very simply do is we go back to the company settings option under administration and we adjust our max carryover value, remembering that Chris had 12 days left in total. So therefore, we will set this value to 12 days and we will then click on Save Changes. When we then head back over to the carryover page via admin dashboard and clicking on yearly carryover, we can bring up the entire company again. And you will see more errors appearing because the carryover has already been processed for these individuals. So therefore, you cannot do it again. But now what we can do is we can tick Chris's name. And as you'll see, the possible carryover value has increased from the original 5 up to the full 12. And then we can click on Debbie's name as well, who can now carry over their full amount as well. And once we then click on process and confirm that message, you can now see that has been processed as well. What we can now do is when we go and run the same allowances report we ran at the very beginning via the reports dashboard over to the allowances option, you will now see the balances for this year have all been increased to incorporate that carryover value. There's Chris's, for example. They have a standard balance of 20 days and now they have a carryover balance of 12 days included. And that goes for all of our staff members. And this means that the carryover process has been successfully run accordingly and our staff members can book their time off as they need to. Of course, we've covered quite a number of topics during this session. We are always available on the telephone on 01227 812 933, as well as via email on support@whosoff.com, of which those details are also on screen for you now. Please feel free to get in touch whenever you need us. But for now, thank you for watching. We wish you well in the new year, and we'll speak soon.